Meditation saved my life. Meditation is the reason that I'm sitting in front of you here today. Meditation is the thing that's allowed me to rewire my brain from one that was struggling and weak to one that is now strong and resilient and is able to face any challenges that life brings its way. I've been meditating consistently for over 10 years now, and in this video, I'm going to share the 10 lessons I've learned from 10 years of meditating. If you're new to this channel, my name is Dr. Bisleen. I'm a cognitive behavioral therapy certified naturopathic doctor, and I teach people how to maximize their brain's potential. Although today I'm a doctor who helps people with their brain health, there was a point in my life where I struggled with it so much, and that's why I'm so passionate about it today. In my late teens, I was diagnosed with depression. When I got into university, I struggled with extreme anxiety and panic attacks, and at one point, things in my life got so bad that I ended up in the hospital as a result of my depression and anxiety. That was honestly a really dark time in my life where I was struggling so much. And honestly, one of the biggest things that I started doing at that time was to start meditating. And when I started to build a consistent practice of meditation in my life, it completely changed everything for me. And just to be fully honest and frank here, it wasn't my choice to start meditating. I actually got forced into meditation because of my mom, and I'm so grateful for her to this day, even though at that time I was not very happy with her. She had been working on her mental health and meditating for many, many years before that. And when she saw how much I was struggling with my mental health, she would always tell me, Bisleen, just go meditate, just do it. I'm telling you, it's gonna be life-changing. And every time I'd be like, oh my God, no, like, what do you know? Like, you don't know anything, that typical teen, early 20s behavior, thinking that you know everything, and then you get older and realize you don't know anything, but you also see that nobody else knows anything, so it makes it all okay. So in my early 20s, my mom actually forced me to go to this meditation group for young people, for people in their teens, early 20s, and I did not want to go to this group. And essentially, we would meet every single week for a few weeks, and essentially it was just a bunch of us kids meditating for a few hours at a time. And even though I was extremely resistant to the process in the beginning, as I sat in these classes, as I started to sit in the solitude, as I started to sit in my own thoughts, just my own being, things started to shift within me. I started to turn more and more inwards. I started to, over time, become my own best friend, my own healer, my own inner cheerleader. The more that I sat with myself and my thoughts, the more that I allowed myself to sit in the silence of me, my brain started to get stronger and stronger. And then I started to do different types of meditation, like visualization. And as I started to just dive deeper and deeper into my meditation practice, my brain just became stronger and stronger. And rewiring my brain and maximizing my brain's potential just became easier and easier. I know that so many people are against meditation, and I hear it all the time in my practice where people tell me, I tried it, it didn't work, it's too hard. And the truth is that if it feels really hard, it's probably because you need to do it more. And the more that I meditated, the more that I saw my brain getting stronger and stronger over time. And I started to see that shift from a brain that was struggling, a brain that was stuck in negative thinking, to now a brain that was able to pause, to rationalize, to literally build the reality and stories that it actually wanted to believe in its own life. Meditation has been that core practice in my life that has truly allowed me to become the greatest version of myself. And with that being said, let's get into the 10 lessons I've learned in 10 years of meditating. Lesson number 1, if you get quiet enough, you will always find the answers within you. This has truly been one of the most important lessons I've learned, which is literally why it's number 1. Honestly, none of the other lessons are labeled in numerical order of importance, but this one is, only this one. When I was struggling a lot with my mental health, one of the things I found myself doing is I was constantly looking outwards for validation, for acceptance, for approval. Before I would do anything in my life, I felt like I needed 10 different people to approve of it. I needed to get everybody's opinions to know if this was the right thing for me to do. I was very outward focused. And I noticed that a lot in our society. I noticed that with so many people today. We become so outward focused. And I'm not saying that asking for other people's opinion is wrong, but sometimes we get so caught up in other people's opinions that we actually lose the ability to trust ourselves and our ability to make decisions because we get so lost in the outside noise that is around us. And we feel like we need other people to deeply approve and validate our choices in order for them to seem okay. This all changed and shifted for me when I started to meditate. The more that I meditated, the more that I allowed myself and gave myself permission to sit in silence and in the quietness, I noticed that I would always find the answers within me. And I realized that I have a divine, incredible source within me that has all the answers that I need in order to move forward in life. And when I came to this realization, it's just like something just shifted within me. And the more that I noticed myself getting quiet and searching for the answers within me, the more that I noticed my self trust started to build. And the more my self trust started to build, the more my confidence built. Now in my life, I rarely ask for other people's opinions on doing things. I just mostly do it. Not to say I never do. There's definitely times and places where I'm just like, I am not an expert in this topic. And even if I sit deeply and quietly within this, I will still not know the next best step to take forward. But in that case, then I will ask someone else who is an expert and then get their advice and support in terms of how to move forward. In general, though, when it comes to me thinking about deep inside how to move forward in certain areas of life, I know that I'm always being guided. I know that if I just sit in the quietness and in the solitude, I will always get the answers that I need. And so, this has been one of the most profound lessons I've learned through meditation, and it just really emphasizes how powerful we truly are as human beings. Lesson number two that I've learned is that if you suck at something now, it's okay because you will always get better with practice. I love this lesson because it just gives you back so much power and control in your life. A lot of us, when we try something new, we're going to be awful at it. But what I've learned through my practice with meditation is that if you truly make something be a practice in your life, and if you see the things that you're trying to master as simply practices, then you can start to see it as something that you can get better at. I know that when I first used to meditate, it used to literally take me an hour to like quiet my mind. Now I can do it in 5 minutes. Sometimes all it takes is one deep breath for me to just quiet my mind and tune in to the inner divine nature and guidance within me. If you had told me this 10 years ago, I would have never believed you because my mind was constantly overactive. It was constantly on overdrive. I would have never thought that I would have been in a space where it only would take me like 5 minutes of meditation to completely quiet my overactive mind. I love this lesson because you can literally apply it to anything else in your life. Any other area that you feel like you're just not good at, it's not that you're not good at it, it's just that you haven't practiced this thing enough to be good at it. I tell my patients this all the time, even when it comes to healthy eating. A lot of us haven't actually practiced healthy eating. It's not that we're bad at being healthy, it's just that we haven't practiced it long enough for it to become natural to us. So remember, it's not that you're actually bad at something, it's just that you haven't practiced it enough to be good at it. Lesson number three that I've learned is that the only thing that you can change in your life is you. When I was struggling with depression and anxiety, I was very much stuck in that victim mindset. And one of the things I noticed for me that would always come up is that I would always be looking at other people and complaining as to why they're not changing. And I was really making other people take responsibility for how I was feeling. So if anything ever went wrong in my life, it was because of this and that and this. It was never because of me. And if anything ever upset me in my life, it was never because I did something. It's because of that person or that thing that showed up in my life. And I never really took responsibility of my life. And I didn't realize this, but because I was continuing to show up in alignment with the old stories and beliefs, one of the old stories was I'm not good enough. What would happen is that everything in my life would represent that. And as I started to meditate, as I started to become more conscious of these stories and how I was showing up and who I was being on a day to day basis, I started to realize how much power and control I had in my life. And when I started to look inwards and change myself and shift these stories, I started to notice that everybody else around me started to treat me differently. And my whole life around me shifted to match my new story. So if I believed that I was good enough and I started to show up in my day to day life as I was good enough, people started to literally treat me like I was good enough. And it's like, how can you not? How can you not? If my energy internally is I am confident, I am good enough, I am powerful, I am awesome, everything else in your life changes and aligns to meet that state and level and version of you. So, what I literally do in my life right now is I shift myself. I shift me. I don't try to shift or change other people. I will in my life distance myself from other people or cut off people in my life that I really feel like are just feeding me negative energy, and I just don't need that because I don't change other people. I have spent so much of my life trying to change other people, right? Especially being in relationship with significant others, and I just don't do that anymore. Instead, it's like either we match our energies or we leave, or what I really do is I shift myself. I shift myself, and with that, I notice how everything else starts to shift around me. I've noticed this especially in relationship with family. I noticed that whenever I shifted my internal state of self and started to show up in any situation or relationship where I know I was deeply loved, even if it wasn't by the other person, it's just me loving myself, or that I'm deeply enough just as I am, I literally started to notice people starting to treat me differently. It is just so wild how our energy, how we choose to show up on a day to day basis, has a ripple effect and impact on everything around us. So, next time you want to blame someone else, and I'm not saying you don't ask other people to take responsibility of their actions or express yourself and how they're making you feel. I'm not saying any of that. But what I really want you to do is all this energy that you're pouring out right now to try to change other people, bring it back. And I want you to ask yourself, how can you shift yourself? And sometimes when we shift ourselves, we start to see situations in a different way. So we might be like, this relationship or person actually isn't for us. Or just by shifting ourselves and the energy that we're carrying, it results in other people treating us differently because that's just how we have shifted internally. It's just absolutely wild, the control that you have. Lesson number 4 is that facing solitude sets you free from the noise of the world. There is so much external noise from the people around us, from apps and things we look at online. We're just constantly being bombarded all day long with just all of this noise around us. And the issue here is that the more that you're lost in the noise, the further and further you get away from yourself. I think what's really sad is that a lot of us are actually scared of solitude. We are scared to sit with ourselves because we can't handle the thoughts and emotions that come up when we do sit with ourselves. And so what ends up happening is that this causes us to do more. This causes us to constantly fill our ears with noise. And then this takes us further and further away from our true self and being and who we are. I noticed in my life that the more that I meditated, the more that I faced solitude and quietness, the more that it allowed me to cut clear from the distractions and the noise of the world. And this on its own allowed me to truly show up as the most authentic, powerful, and confident version of myself because I didn't let myself get lost in the noise of the world. I wasn't scared to sit in the solitude and quietness that is me. And I'm not saying this was an easy journey. It was really, really uncomfortable at first, like extremely uncomfortable. I had to work very hard at just trying to sit in quietness and trying to just be still because I constantly felt like I needed to do more, and more in order to truly feel good enough about myself and who I was. So if you feel exhausted from the noise of the world, one of the best things that you can truly do is to learn how to sit in solitude, is to learn how to sit in quietness and be with yourself. That is also generally just how you learn to love your own company and who you are as a person. Like now that I've done this enough times, I have built such a strong relationship with myself. Lesson number 5 that I've learned from 10 years of meditating is that the more conscious that you can be in your life, the more power and control you'll have over your life. One of the reasons why a lot of us are not able to change is because we're constantly on automatic. We're constantly on the next thing and the next thing and the next thing. We're constantly in doing mode, and we're never in being mode. We're not in being mode because our nervous system is constantly in the stress state. It's constantly on overdrive, constantly thinking about the next thing that we need to do or get to or achieve or whatever it is that you're doing. And what starts to happen is that the more that you're in that doing state, you're never actually present. You're never actually just being. And if you're not ever actually just being, you can't be conscious about the version of yourself that you're showing up as in your life. And this is why so many of us get caught up in these patterns where we are not showing up in alignment with the version of ourselves that we want to be. And we get stuck in these dysfunctional patterns over and over again because we're constantly acting on automatic. The amount of patients who I see and are just like, I keep self-sabotaging, or I've been stuck in this overeating pattern, or doing this or that. And that's because, again, they're not conscious. They're not asking themselves, who am I showing up as? Am I in alignment with the version of myself I want to be? They're just so fixated on doing and getting to the next thing. And because of that, they've lost all power and control over their life. And so if you want to get power and control of your life, you need to slow down enough to be conscious about the version of yourself that you're showing up as. The more that I meditated in my life and slowed down and got quiet and sat with myself, the more I was able to shift into the observer of my life and be like, am I showing up in alignment with the highest version of me? Or am I showing up in alignment with, honestly, the worst version of me? Or the version of me who believes that she's not good enough, that she's a failure, that she's deeply unloved? Who am I showing up as right now? And the more that I meditated, the more that I was able to get conscious about my life and make that conscious choice and decision to start showing up as the ultimate best version of me. And the more that I showed up as the ultimate best version of me, the more power and control I got over my life. And just truly being in this space now with 10 years of meditating, I can truly say confidently that I am the creator of my life, that what I choose, I get, that I have divine power and energy source within me. And I am no exception. Like, you do too. You do too, but you just have not given yourself permission and time to slow down enough to truly see the incredible power that lies within you. And meditation is the gateway and doorway to that. Lesson number 6 is that you are just one breath away from feeling peace and calm in your life. Truly just one breath. This is definitely a practice that I had to develop over the years. But when you just get better and better at meditating, you start to realize that truly one breath is all it takes for you to shift your body's entire nervous system state to a state that is aligned with calm and peace. And what I love about realizing this is understanding that calm and peace is always within you. Whenever I work with new clients or start to see them, most of them have that goal of they want to feel peace. They want to feel calm. And a lot of us don't realize this, but that already exists within you. You already have all the calm and peace within you. You just need to get through those layers of just noise that are stopping you and blocking you from actually seeing how much calm and peace is within you. And that's why I just love the work that I do, because it's all about helping my clients peel back the layers to see that they have this incredible power that is already within them and exists within them to help them feel their best. So I just want you to remember that one breath is truly all it takes for you to completely shift your inner state to one that is in alignment with calm and peace. And I'm not even just making this up. You literally have a nerve called the vagus nerve. It's your 10th cranial nerve. It runs all the way from your head. It innervates your throat. It innervates your heart and your diaphragm, and then also innervates your digestive tract. And when you take actually just like one deep belly breath, immediately that vagus nerve is triggered, which then goes and triggers your nervous system state to shift from one that is aligned with stress to one that's aligned with calm. So it's literally physiologically within your body that shift starts to happen. Lesson number 7 that I've learned from 10 years of meditating is that you have so much more control in your life than you think you do. Those of us struggling with our mental health, I think this is the place that we feel the most hopeless in, is that we get into these states of mind where we feel like we have no control in our life. And especially if you've been someone who's gone through so many hard and difficult things that have literally felt like they're outside of your control, we can fall into that hopeless state. And this is where that victim mindset can come into play. And it's so dangerous when we find ourselves stuck in the victim mindset, because when you are in that victim mindset, you just feel powerless to your life. And when you feel powerless to your life, it just feels like no matter what you do, things will just not get better. And trust me, I have been there. I struggled with 5 years of chronic depression and anxiety. So I've very much lived in that state of hopelessness. And I've seen the impact and effect that it's had on my life. As I started to meditate more and more in my life, what I started to realize is throughout these situations that were showing up, I was also having stories in my mind and beliefs about myself that were showing up. And when I started to face those beliefs and stories, when I started to rewrite the story of my life and who I am, it started to shift everything. I started to see that I just have so much control in my life. And now, when unexpected situations show up in my life, instead of thinking, why me? Why does this always happen? Because trust me, I have lived so many years in that state of mind. Instead, I tell myself that I'm a winner, that everything in my life is a win. And I am so grateful for everything that's happening in my life right now. Even, I really notice this now in my life. Like when something, for example, goes wrong in my business in the past, I would always freak out. I would need to text like 5 different friends and talk to other people about it. But now I'm just like, okay, this is a win. How are we going to get through this? What are we going to do about it? And I move forward in that fashion. And it's such a beautiful place to be in. Like when I noticed this being the first thing that shows up in my mind, instead of that mindset of just like, why me? Why does this always happen to me? It just makes me feel so proud. So proud. And it just brings that inner strength and confidence back to help me realize that I can truly get through anything in my life. If you want to feel like you have power and control in your life, the first thing that you really need to do is to learn to sit with yourself, is to learn to see the stories and thoughts that are coming up. If you don't ever actually take a moment to sit with yourself and who you are, you'll never actually get to that place of feeling like you are in control of your life and you have the power to be able to shift the story that's showing up. I really hope that by at least lesson number 7, you're starting to see how incredible meditation is. Lesson number 8 I've learned is that getting quiet gives you the space and permission to see things from different perspectives and then gives you the space. Lesson number 8 that I've learned is that getting quiet gives you the space to see things from different perspectives and then choose the perspective that you want to believe about your reality. And what does that make you? It makes you the master of your reality. Like, can you just take that in? Can you just take in what I just said to you right now? It makes you the master of your reality. When you get quiet, when you sit and meditate, you give your brain permission to see things from different perspectives. And then you get to have the choice of choosing what perspective you want to believe. And that perspective that you believe will ultimately determine how that situation affects you and would ultimately determine the outcome of the situation and how you move forward in life, which will ultimately determine your life. And through that is how you become the master of your reality. You always, always, always have the choice. But again, if you can't sit in quietness, if you can't sit with your mind with the thoughts that show up, if you're constantly on the go and doing, you never get to give yourself permission to slow down enough to become the master of your reality. What I do now in my life is whenever stressful or unexpected situations come up, I sit in it. I sit in those feelings. And I ask myself, what are the beliefs and stories showing up about my life? What do I want to believe? How do I want to move forward? And ultimately, what is that story and belief that I want to have that's going to allow me to move forward in an extremely powerful way and allow me to believe that I truly am the master of my reality? So, for example, if I lost friends, amazing. This is going to make room for other people and friendships to come into my life. I was already getting a bad feeling about these people, and I'm so glad that I was able to see their true colors, and I'm so glad that they've now left my life. If I go through a breakup, I am so grateful because this person was just not for me, and I'm so grateful that things ended in this way so that now I can make room and space for the person that I'm truly meant to be within my life. Do you see that? Instead of being like, oh my God, I'm never gonna find anybody better. Oh my God, what's gonna happen? Blah, 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 blah. All of these negative thoughts that can oftentimes come up in these situations. Honestly, when you start to just see your life in this way, when you start to see yourself as a master of your reality, it just really becomes so much more fun. It just becomes like a game. I just start to have fun with it and think about what are all the different perspectives that I can have on this situation? What are all the different ways that I can look at it? And which way feels like fun and delightful and makes me feel like really good about my life? And it's just so beautiful because it just gives you back that power and control and really just allows you to see how powerful you really are. Lesson number 9 that I've learned is that true self love comes from being okay with yourself exactly as you are. It truly wasn't until I started learning how to meditate and sit with myself and be with myself that my true inner self love really started to develop. So many of us were just all day running away from ourselves. We're running away from our thoughts, our emotions, our internal experiences that are happening because we're just so scared to face them. And the more scared that you are to face those internal experiences, the harder it is going to be to love yourself. How can you love yourself if you can't sit with yourself in silence and be with yourself? If you literally can't sit down and do nothing for 10 minutes and be with yourself, you will never be in a place where you're able to love yourself. I love myself so deeply because I'm able to sit and be with myself. I know I'm my own best friend. I could go and sit on a park bench all day long and have the most amazing day, even though I'm just by myself and I'm not talking to anybody, seeing anybody. And this is definitely not how I started. I would run away from myself. I used to hate the nighttime because I just hated being with myself. I hated being with my thoughts, my emotions, just everything that was happening inside of me. I hated it. And it wasn't until I truly made meditation a consistent practice and over again, I chose to sit with myself and be with myself and to take note of the internal experiences that were showing up that I started to love myself in a way that I hadn't ever before. And the more that I sat with myself, the more that I loved myself, and the more that I loved myself, the more that my confidence built. the more that I was able to take the action steps I needed to take in order to build the life of my dreams. I know that initially this is going to feel really, really hard and scary because it did for me. It did. And through all of this, I had to face a lot of emotion, a lot of sadness. It makes me honestly a little bit emotional just to talk about it now because sometimes when I look and remember these times in my life, it breaks my heart that I was just in such a dark place and a dark place of just like really hating myself. And I've truly spent most of my life, wow, this is making me really emotional. I have truly spent most of my life hating myself. And this is why I'm such an advocate for meditation, for being quiet and sitting with yourself, because I went from this place of completely hating myself and being disgusted with myself to now being in a place where I deeply, deeply love myself. Love myself so, so much. And I'm so proud that I am in a place like that in my life right now because this is what allows me to help people like you, to guide people like you to your inner self love. Because life looks so much brighter and better when you are in a place that you deeply love yourself. And I want you to feel that deep love. And when you're in a place where you deeply love yourself, you also make better choices and decisions about yourself in terms of the people that you want to be around, the career choices you want to have, the places you want to live, what you feel like you're even capable of. The more that I tuned inwards, the more that I sat with myself, the more that I built that self love, the better choices I made for myself and what I truly deserve in my life. And last but not least, lesson number 10 that I've learned from 10 years of consistently meditating is that the more that you meditate, the more that you align with God. You can call it God, you can call it universe, you can call it whatever name you want to call it, but I'm going to call it God because that is the name that I choose. And so the more that you meditate, the more that you align yourself with God, and the more that you align yourself with this God-like energy, the more that you build your faith, and the more faith that you have, the more that you believe that you can do anything that you set your mind to. And this is truly the most powerful thing that I've learned in all my 10 years of meditating. And this is truly the most powerful thing that I've learned in all my 10 years of meditating. And maybe this should have actually been number one. But again, this is not numerical order, except for that number one, because it was really important. But maybe this should have been number one. The way that my meditation practice is in my life right now is that I do 3 10-minute meditations throughout the day. I do one in the morning as soon as I wake up. It's a visualization meditation. I do one in the afternoon, and then I do one at nighttime right before going to sleep. And the one that I do at night before going to sleep, what I'll do is in the background, I'll actually play something called Simran. So this in my culture, so I'm Sikh, I speak Punjabi. And so Simran is essentially where we repeat the words Vaheguru. So essentially, in another language, you can think of it as like a hymn or a chant that you essentially repeat. So some people will chant like Om. I say the word Vaheguru. So Vaheguru in Punjabi, it means our beloved God or our wonderful God. And it is just, there's actually a Spotify playlist of it that I listen to, and it is just the most beautiful chant. So beautiful. And I'll always listen to it before bed. And that is a time for me to connect with God, to connect to faith, to connect to the divine energy that is all surrounding within us. Oftentimes during this period, this is also a time for me to connect with my inner self. And sometimes there's emotions that I need to process during the day. So sometimes I'll cry and I'll have a release of emotions. And it's just been such a beautiful way for me to just end my day in alignment with God, in alignment with faith. And I noticed that whenever I did this specific type of chanting meditation, I just felt so, so connected and aligned with the divine, with the source energy. And the more that I felt in alignment with this and the more that I felt connected to faith, the more that it allowed me to build the faith in myself that everything is going to be okay. This is what's allowed me to have that mindset of I'm a winner and everything in my life is a win. This is what has allowed me to trust that no matter what challenge comes my way, I'll be able to get through it. This is what allows me to, when I see stress come up, instead of being like, why me? I'm just like, let's go. I'm so grateful that this is coming up because this is going to give me space and permission to be a better me. This is going to give me space and permission to get a better opportunity or to improve in this aspect. And seeing life in this way makes everything so much brighter, so much more fun, and really allows me to step into the creator that I am of my life. Like, isn't that just so powerful? So incredible when we can just live life in alignment with this beautiful source energy that is within all of us. When we can live in alignment with God. And honestly, I want to make a lot more videos on spirituality and God. If that's content that you like to see me talk more about and how much it's radically shifted my mental health and well being, comment below and let me know. I'm happy to make more content on this. The truth really is that you can do anything that you set your mind to. Anything. The more that you give yourself space to quiet down, settle into your mind, look at all the stories and beliefs that are coming up, look at what's blocking you, choose to face it, rewire it, and move through it, you'll start to build this faith. You'll start to get closer and closer and more connected to this energy because that's how I want you to feel. I want you to wake up every single day feeling like you can handle anything that comes your way. But if you're unwilling to slow down and face the things that are blocking you and keeping you stuck in where you are now, you will never be able to get there. So these are the lessons. These are the 10 lessons that I've learned from 10 years of consistently meditating. Meditating has been a core part of my practice and something that I do every single day to support my brain health. And the more that I meditate, the more that I deepen my practice, I notice that ripple effect on everything in my life. Honestly, the simplest and best way for you to start, literally go on YouTube, find a 10-minute meditation and just do it. Just do it. Or even just right now, put a 10-minute timer on your iPhone and just sit. You don't even have to practice any sort of deep breathing. Just sit in silence and just see what shows up for you. The more that you choose to sit with yourself, the more that you will notice that inner trust and strength within yourself building. I hope that this video was helpful. And most importantly, I really hope that it inspires you to start your own meditation practice because life just gets better the more that you meditate.